Are you looking for a book about the experience of queer people with mental illness? You've come to the right place. Hello, my name is Stratus Clouds, and I'm a 17-year-old aspiring author currently writing In All Your Illness. This creation of mine, In All Your Illness, is something I have a lot of passion for, and I'd like to share it with the rest of you. With that, let's get into the questions. What's your book about? My book is about two mentally ill queer people who essentially meet and struggle throughout their relationship due to their mental illness. But our main characters are Alba and Rowan, and they essentially just go on little adventures together. It's very slice-of-life-esque day in the life of a mentally ill person. Alba and Rowan are both two very different brands of mental illness, with Alba representing more about anxieties and Rowan representing more of depressions, though they both have symptoms of both anxiety and depression, and they both have other mental health issues besides depression and anxiety. When did you start writing? I started writing when I was 3 or 4 years old, and it became a passion right away for me. I've always written small little things, but I've recently wanted to take on some bigger projects, including In All Your Illness. I started writing In All Your Illness specifically during August of 2024. Where is the book at in terms of the process? It's still in the first draft writing process, though I plan to finish this process by March 22nd, though I'm projected to finish in early April, so yeah, it has a long way to go in terms of before it gets published. Speaking of which, do you plan to publish it, and how so? I do plan to publish it, actually. I plan to self-publish it using Kindle Direct Publishing for Amazon. This seems to be the way that most self-published writers are going these days, and it seems like the easiest of these options. What representation is in your book? There's primarily a lot of queer representation in my book, but there's also some racial diversity as well, as the main character is Aztec and Mexican. Though the deuteragonist, or the secondary main character, is white, the other two main characters that I can think of off the top of my head are non-white. As for queer representation, there's both gay, bisexual, as well as transgender representation. Me, being transmasculine and omniromantic and asexual, it was very important to me to write a book including LGBTQ+ representation. Our main character is cisgender and gay, and our deuteragonist, or secondary protagonist, is transmasculine and biromantic asexual. Given that this book is primarily dealing with my personal mental health experiences, and how the book is just as much the character's story as it is mine, it was very important to me to add some LGBTQ+ representation. Why did you write this book? I primarily wrote this book as an outlet for myself to deal with my own mental issues, though in the past I never would have been able to write a book so explicitly mentally ill as this. It's been a great outlet for me recently. I also wanted to write this book to prove a couple of things. Firstly, I wanted to prove to the adults out there that kids suffer way more than you might think, and people struggle a lot in their teenage years, which I feel like a lot of adults tend to forget. I also wrote this book specifically to resonate with mentally ill teenagers who are going through something. I mainly wanted it to resonate with them because I was that mentally ill teenager, and still am. I want this book to be a message to all of the mentally ill teens out there. I see you, I hear you, and I stand with you. What's your target audience, and who is the book intended for? As I said earlier, it's mainly intended for adults to just prove a point, but it's primarily for parents in the aspect. It's for parents of mentally ill kids who just can't understand their child, and I want them to be able to look at this book and realize just how much their kid is going through. And of course, I also want to prove solidarity with some teenagers out there who are really going through the ringer, because I was that teenager, and still am. When will the book be released? It's set to be released in November of 2025, though this may become altered as I go in college in 2025. Overall, it's looking like late 2025 or maybe early 2026, although I hate saying that, because I really don't want it to be as late as 2026, but it might have to be if my studies catch up with me. Do you plan on to release a sequel, prequel, or spin-off? I'm in the process of planning a spin-off currently, but I don't plan to release anything else as part of a series. It's mainly meant to be a standalone novella, so... Speaking of which, what is a novella? A novella is basically a novel that's shorter. A novel usually spans 50,000 to around 90,000 words, whereas a novella is 40,000 words or under. And that's all the questions for this frequently asked questions list. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate it. And if you could subscribe, I will definitely post updates about my book. So thank you so much.